Well, hello friends, Mark Martella here for Mark's Money Matters, where I teach you how to break your addiction from debt and using credit, and how to bring some sanity to your finances. So today, if you saw the promo, the tease, we're going to answer the question, are monkeys smarter than humans when it comes to money? But before that, I want to get into a couple of rants, I should say, that I have this week. And the first one deals with all of these credit card offers that are out there. And, you know, one of my biggest pet peeves with regard to the manipulation that is out there with credit cards is their reward points or reward miles. And how they sucker you into, getting their cards. So what I'd like to talk about today is one that I recently received from Discover. And I'm sure you've all received similar ones to this. And basically it is earn 5% cash back at the grocery store. So grocery store is someplace you might not normally use your credit card. You'll use your debit card. But here is Discover trying to entice you to use your credit card there. And why? Well, simple reason is they make money on it. And basically they will give you, they're going to give you $75 for up to $1,500 in purchases, 5% of the $1,500. And you're saying, well, how can they make money by doing that? Well, here's the reality of it is, let's take the $1,500. They get, or you get $75 if you do that and use that over 3 months. You might do it in 1 month, depending on the size of your family and how much they eat. But automatically, Discover's going to get a 2% transaction fee from that particular merchant. So again, where they normally wouldn't get some money, on $15,000, that's $30 in fees they're getting. Well, they're still negative. But here's the thing. So many people carry a balance on their credit card. So if you are one of the people carrying a balance, and now they are getting that balance a little bit higher, and you're paying, let's say, just 15% interest. A lot of people out there paying over 20%, but let's say you're paying 15% interest. Well, that 15% interest on an annual rate is $135. So you add the $30 fee they're getting from the merchant, the $135 they're getting from you in extra interest for a charge you normally wouldn't put on your card, that's $165. They subtract the $75 they've given to you, they've made $90. So you're saying, well, why would they do that just for $90? Well, the big thing is they have 43 million cardholders. With those 43 million cardholders, if we just say 25% do this, that have balances on their account, when you add the interest and charges, they're going to make $900 million, literally $900 million. That's why they offer these things. This is how they suck us in. This is how they manipulate us. So keep in mind, don't use your credit cards to buy groceries. That should be in your budget. And when we're talking about budgets, if you want help with your budget, please go to the Money Matters website. It's simply markmartella.com. Go to the free resources page, and there you'll find a number of free resources, including, most importantly, my ultimate budget planning tool. And there we can help you with getting your finances into better shape. So that's my first rant. My next rant has to do with credit debt consolidation companies, and let's talk about them. Let me mute this first. So with debt consolidation companies, they send these mailings, and what nobody looks at is the fine print. And that's where the real damages are, and that's what people don't understand. They see these alleged savings, and I'm going to show you how the savings really aren't that great. But here's some of the fine print that you need to know before you sign up for the contracts. It says, clients, and excuse me for reading, but clients who are able to stay with the program and get all their debt settled realize approximately savings of 50% before fees, or 30% including our fees over 24 to 48 months. That means they are charging you 20% of what you owe in fees to attempt to negotiate these for you. They say, we do not guarantee that your debts will be lowered by a specific amount or percentage, or that you will be debt-free within a specific period of time. Also, we do not assume consumer debt, make monthly payments to creditors, or provide tax, bankruptcy, accounting, or legal advice, or credit repair services. So what the heck do they do for 20% of your debt? Please contact a tax professional to discuss tax consequences of settlement. Please consult with a bankruptcy attorney for more information on bankruptcy. They tell you nothing. So that's the fine print. Again, that's on the back of their offer, so most people don't even flip it over. But here's the really interesting part on what they try to show you what you save. So they give this example of Sanford. Well, Sanford had $100,373 worth of debt when he started. They reduced it to $66,000, a savings of 34%, $34,298. But their fees of 20% of the $100,000, $20,000 in fees they charge this poor guy. And the bigger thing is, they don't talk about the tax consequences. So any debt forgiven is treated as taxable income. So in addition to the $20,000 he paid them, next year when he files his taxes, if he's even in just the 15% tax bracket, he's looking at $5,144 in tax liability. So the savings aren't really $34,000. You got to take the $5,000 off, $29,000. He didn't save much at all. If you have the ability to pay $66,000 over 24 to 48 months, again, they don't tell you how long this was, you don't need a debt consolidation company. Again, if you were to file bankruptcy, depending on the circumstances, and again, each case is different, but I can tell you the legal fees are only about $2,100, including your filing fees and everything else. You're paying these people $20,000 with no guarantees, no legal advice, no tax advice, nothing other than them making a few phone calls and setting things up for you. If they spend more than 10 hours of time on it, I would be shocked. So again, you really need to crunch the numbers, look at it, look behind it, and look at all other avenues. Talk to your accountant. Talk to a bankruptcy attorney. Most bankruptcy attorneys offer free consultation. You have nothing to lose, and compare your circumstances. Again, bankruptcy isn't for everyone depending upon your income and assets, but if you have $100,000 worth of debt and you're able to pay out $66,000 of it, you're going to pay somebody $20,000 to resolve it, that is simply ridiculous. You can hire an attorney for a quarter of that to negotiate these debts down. So anyway, I told you the fine print. The other thing is, you get sued, you're stuck. Again, they're not going to provide you with any legal representation whatsoever. So again, read the fine print on these things. They're not as good as or great as what they say. And in my experience, most of my clients who come to see me, they've wasted that money that they've paid to them. So those are my two rants for this week. But let's get into today's topic. And I came across this topic listening to a TED Talk, and the idea that are monkeys smarter than people when it comes to money? Well, very interesting results. And this was a study done by a professor at Yale, Laurie Santos. She's a professor of psychology. And she was wondering something that I had wondered. So I'm in the process of writing a white paper, and it's called Credit Lies, the Secret War Destroying American Consumers, Families, and the Workplace, and How to Fight Back. And what motivated me to pursue this and to research this was that I keep having clients come see me, and when they come see me, they tell me, once we get their discharge, they never want to file bankruptcy again. They never want another credit card. But yet, despite them saying this, I see constantly people coming to me filing their second or third bankruptcy. How can they fall into this trap when they tell me how horrible the stress has been and the experience, and yet they fall into this trap? So I didn't know if it was just me, so I did a little bit of research, and according to the bankruptcy court statistics, in the last 2 years, 38% of people who had filed bankruptcy in those years had filed a previous bankruptcy in the last 8 years. So it wasn't just me when 4 out of 10 people are doing it. So why? Especially with the change in the law, now they have to go for credit counseling. Well, came across this TED Talk, and I will post the full talk on the Facebook page. But what Professor Santos said, and bear with me with this quote, but she was thinking the same thing I was thinking. I was thinking it in the context of bankruptcies, but she was thinking of it just in the context overall of people making bad decisions, and she decided to focus on bad decisions when it comes to money. So she says, quote, but it turns out what social scientists are actually learning is that most of us, when put in certain contexts, will actually make very specific mistakes. The errors we make are actually predictable. We make them again and again, and they're actually immune to lots of evidence. When we get negative feedback, we still, the next time we're faced with a certain context, tend to make the same errors. And so this has been a real puzzle to me as of a sort of scholar of human nature. What I'm most curious about is, how is a species that's as smart as we are capable of such bad and such consistent errors all the time? So she's asking herself the same question that I'm asking. People go through bankruptcy. They know what they should do not to get out of bankruptcy. I explain it to them in my book. I give them tips, and yet they fall into that trap. So it's, are we pre-wired to make some of these bad decisions? Well, so the question that she did, or she studied, was she wanted to take some test of people who were that, or I should say animals, that were not subject to the things that we're used to, the iPhones, the technology and stuff. And what if we start from scratch? So she decided to create a test with monkeys. And the first thing they had to do was teach monkeys how to use money. And the way they were able to do that was they trained them, they gave them a token, and trained the monkeys to hand over a token in exchange for some grapes or an apple or something. And the monkeys got the hang of it. And then what they did, they changed things up. They gave them some better deals with different vendors, so to speak, and they had different students dressed differently, where for one token they would get one grape, but for another person dressed differently, for one token would get 2 grapes, to the point where they were able to make those decisions. Well, I'm not going to go into a great bit of detail. Like I said, I am going to recommend the actual TED Talk, and I'll put the link on the Facebook page. But what they found, and again, I do a little quote, the more surprising thing was that when we collaborated with economists to actually look at monkeys' data using economic tools, they basically matched, not just qualitatively, but quantitatively, with what we saw humans doing in a real market. If you saw the monkeys' numbers, you couldn't tell whether they came from a monkey or a human in the same market. So there's your answer. There was no difference between humans and monkeys. But then they changed it around. And would monkeys make the same bad decisions that we make? And again, I'm not going to go into the details of the testing, but when confronted with similar difficult questions, monkeys made the same bad decisions when it came to money. The conclusion was, and it comes in with playing it safe, it says, people here played it safe, and it turns out the monkeys played it safe too. Qualitatively and quantitatively, they chose exactly the same way as people when tested in the same thing. So the conclusion is that we are pre-wired to make these decisions. And again, she concludes with what do we know about these old strategies like this? Well, one thing we know is that they tend to be really hard to overcome. You think of evolutionary predilection for eating sweet things, fatty things like cheesecake. You can't just shut that off. You can't just look at the dessert card and say, no, that looks disgusting to me. We're just built differently. We're going to perceive it as a good thing and go after it. So that explains a lot. It explains a lot to me with regard to why people file multiple bankruptcies. And now, I'm not the first person to discover this. This report is 10 years old, and psychologists and behavioral economists know about this. But you know who else knows about it? The marketers, the credit card companies. And this type of knowledge, like anything else, can be used for good or can be used for evil. And the way Americans are sucked into debt again and again and again by the multiple bankruptcies of people who have even gone through this process, had a bad experience, pledged that they would never go into bankruptcy again, fall back into it, not just twice, even 3 times. So again, my mission here is to get the word out, get the message out that you need to educate yourself. You need to be aware of our own biological pre-wiring, and once you're aware of it and you can address it, you won't get sucked in, you won't get tricked, you won't get taken in by the marketers and the creditors, credit card company issues, get those alleged bonuses by using their cards when they're inundating you with mailings, with emails to get this, what they call free money. But as I explained earlier in here, you can see how much money they make on it. Again, the biggest rule of thumb is don't assume anybody is your friend. If they're making you an offer, assume there's something good in it for them. Again, we are much different than we were 100 years ago, where caveat emptor, meaning buyer beware, was the normal course. We've gotten kind of complacent, thinking that government regulations should make everything safe for us and everybody is honest and truthful and you can believe what they say. Well, unfortunately, that's not how the world works. People are always looking out for the best interest, and when it comes to using credit, you need to look out for your best interest. You need to educate yourself, and you need to ask the hard questions. So again, if you want help, go to the Money Matters website. Very easy, markmartella.com. We have resources. All my past videos are there with tips and tools that you can use to not only get out of debt, but to stay out of debt, or not even get into debt in the first place by implementing the habits that I share with you on the website. If you have a question, you can always ask your questions here, or shoot me an email. Just send it to mark@markmartella.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. And we'll be back here next week. But remember, you have the power to choose to live a debt-free, stress-free life. Have a great week.